By listening to this podcast, you agree to not use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in yourself or others, including, but not limited to, patients that you are treating. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast. Under no circumstances shall any guests or contributors to the podcast or any employees, associates, or affiliates of the Neuroendocrine Cancer Awareness Network be responsible for damages arising from use of this podcast. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Nets Get Real with NCAN. I am your host, Mike Wayman. We've had a really great 2023, and 2024 is going to be just as awesome, if not more awesome. Our first event is going to be in February 17th, 2024. We'll be in San Diego for another NET Patient Conference. Go to netcancerawareness.org for more information, and also our social media is at netcanceraware. Today, we're going to have another patient journey. Really excited to talk to Christine DuPerry. She's joining us right now. Christine, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mike. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So please tell, you're relatively newly diagnosed. We're going on about 3 years,
Yes.
this year.
Yes.
So yeah, just tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit of your journey.
Okay, so I am married with 2 children. I have been a pharmacy technician most of my life. I was diagnosed June 1st, 2020. Well, I started getting sick June 1st, 2020, and a couple months later is when I was technically diagnosed. I was at work one day and I wasn't feeling well, and they had to call the rescue for me. So they brought me to the hospital and they started doing blood work, and my hemoglobin, my iron, and my potassium was low. So that led them to believe that there was something, probably gastric or colon going on. So they suggested that I see my gastroenterologist. So in July, I had the endoscopy, and that was fine. And then a week later, I had the colonoscopy, and the doctor didn't really tell me at the time. He said they had found a lesion. After reading the reports, like months later, I had a complete intestinal blockage. And it ended up being, so my tumor was actually colon cancer and neuroendocrine cancer in the same tumor. So somehow the colon cancer had degraded into the neuroendocrine. And so I went in for I had the right-sided ileocolectomy. So they took out my tumor. They took out 24 lymph nodes, and 11 of those lymph nodes were infected. But we didn't find out till later, because the insurance wouldn't pay for the PET scan, that there were still 5 lymph nodes in me that they wouldn't have been able to do anything about anyways. But that's why I ended up having to go on chemo. So my doctor first started me with cisplatin and etoposide, and I had a little reaction to the cisplatin. So I did not finish that treatment. And then the next treatment, she started me on carboplatin and etoposide, and I also had a reaction to that. So then by then they had gotten the pathology reports back on exactly what cancer was left inside of me. So they decided to put me on Folfox. So I was on Folfox for 12 treatments because you can only be on the oxaliplatin part of that for 12 treatments because you get neuropathy and you're very sensitive to cold.
Mhm.
So so I did the 12 treatments with the oxaliplatin, and then they just left me on the other two parts of the Folfox, which are the leucovorin and the 5-FU. And then they added Avastin, and Avastin is supposed to prevent the tumors from drawing blood to themselves to feed off of. So I was on that for 2 years. So as of right now, I am no evidence of disease. I've only had two CAT scans since I've been off chemo in March. And the second CAT scan showed a new growth in my lung, and I've never had a growth in my lung before. So they are going to do a repeat CAT scan the Monday after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So when I was diagnosed, um, my son, who is 29, was finishing up physical therapy, and my daughter had just got accepted to Tufts Veterinary School, and it was a very emotional summer that summer. She
Sure.
was moving away from home for the first time. We didn't know what was going to happen with me. We actually didn't find out until October when my doctor actually told me that I was stage 4 and that I probably only had 2 to 3 years to live.
Hmm.
Yeah. So at that point, we went up to Dana-Farber in Boston. We got an opinion from one of the doctors up there, and she totally agreed with what my oncologist was telling me as far as treatment goes. Um, and then I saw another doctor in my doctor's practice, and he agreed also. So we knew we were in good hands with my oncologist. Um, and when or if I do have to start treatment again, she does have the trial drugs that Dana Farber would have. She has access to those, and she already knows which drug she is going to use if I do need to. So, so it's just a matter of every 3 months I get my CAT scans and I get my blood work done.
Follow up.
So,
Always following up. I,
yes.
I have a question in regards to you have a background in pharmaceutical.
Yes.
Um, how does that play into, because we do have patients that are either a nurse
Mm-hmm.
or just somehow involved in the medical field.
Yep.
How does that impact your decision making as a patient?
So, believe it or not, I worked at a hospital for 10 years and I was making IVs and I was also making chemo IVs. So, I did know a lot about them from the pharmacy tech part of it. I was making the chemos that I was getting. So, and I know pharmacists, like I have so many pharmacist friends. So, knowing the background of the drugs, um, is kind of a little scarier, I think, than being blind to it. But it's also reassuring because if I really had questions or reactions, I had a lot of friends that I could ask besides my doctor, more on a personal level of how things, would go or how I should expect them to go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine because I know that it could be a double-edged sword,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
um, you've been diagnosed for about 3 years or so.
Yep.
Um, why do you think it's so important for a patient to be involved with their treatment plan?
I think that it helps you get the best treatment that you deserve. Um, I know reading a lot of the things on the website, I notice a lot of people asking, rather than asking their doctor the questions they should be asking them, they're asking us on the website. So, like, I think some of the questions they really should be directing more to their doctor and not to us on
Sure.
the website, because we can only give our opinions.
Right.
Um, I noticed there was a question about a lady had a pregnancy related concern about a chemo. And the other answer I would give to that also is to contact a pharmacist. Pharmacists that make chemo have to know everything about that chemo and how it's going to affect your body as well as if you have a baby in your body. So, so I think just being more involved in, in what the doctor is doing, and I'm sorry,
No problem.
and just, just being a participant and not just being, okay, I'm just going to go through this, you
Sure.
know. Mm,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
mm,
and it kind of rolls into a couple other things that I want to mention.
yep.
So obviously we're big into advocacy. We're an advocacy group.
Yes.
You mentioned a website, and then
Yeah.
also you mentioned in your email to me that
Yes.
you're a member of the high grade neuroendocrine group.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so my high grade comes in where I was diagnosed with my KI 67 was 90%. And I have the BRAF mutation. I don't know. I haven't heard very many people talk about that. Um, but and then I have MSS BRAF V600E plus.
Okay.
I was PT3N2B
Hmm.
with my pathology. So, so I guess it's mostly the KI 67 90% that put me in the high grade, because that is actually what was in my lymph nodes and is still in my lymph nodes in my body. So that's why I think they're being extra careful as far as monitoring me.
Okay. And then as far as the website that you said that you answer on, is that some sort of an advocacy website, or
So
what is
that
that
is
from?
actually just your NCAN website.
Oh,
Questions that
okay.
I've seen on that. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Why is advocacy so important to you?
I think, hmm, I didn't know. So, all right. So let's put it this way. All right. Um, I had just had my colonoscopy 4 years prior. My doctor thought I was going to be good for 10 years. So in my fourth year is when I was diagnosed. So advocacy would be to make sure you get your colonoscopies every time you're supposed to. Um, if you see you're having trouble with bowels, have it checked out. Um, just recently, a friend of a friend has been complaining about things going on, and it ends up that his was all was more kidney stones. But um, yeah, just get things checked out. And also to put the word out there that there are other people out there like you that you can, talk with about this. My family didn't really know a lot about it. I didn't know a lot about it. I looked up a lot of things online, which my doctor told me to stop doing
Yeah,
because just the curious nature and because of the line of work I had been in. Um, but sometimes it's good to look it up online because then you'll have better questions to ask your doctor,
sure.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Going in informed for sure.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Yep,
Um, in terms of proper care,
yep.
what do you think is the most important decision a new patient can make?
I would say with me, it was a rocky start. Um, my appetite was horrible. Um, and my doctor was aware. Um, so I think in the beginning, it would be letting your doctor know, um, hey, I haven't been able to eat for a week. What do you suggest? Um, I was in the hospital actually for 3 days because in 1 week I had lost 9 pounds. So, so going into it, you're gonna have things happen to you that have probably never happened to you before. And I think instead of just saying, oh, this must be part of the treatment, I think you should probably, get in touch with their doctor and have a good relationship with them to maybe come to, a different conclusion, saying, well, maybe we should change this or change that to help you make you feel better.
Sure.
So, mhm,
Absolutely. What
mhm,
other I mean in your 3-year journey, do you have
mhm.
any other tips or suggestions to any patients, any new patients, anything like that?
Um, I think the hardest thing for me was my appetite. And I even went to the point where I was trying baby food and that wasn't working. Um, but that was just how my body was reacting to the chemo. Um, trying to think of what else that stands out to me. Oh, it was hard. So when you're on Fox, you go home attached to an IV pump for 3 days. That was hard to get used to. I was doing that every 2 weeks.
Mm,
Um, at first, it seems really overwhelming to be have to go going home hooked up to this chemo pump for 3 days and then go back and have it taken off. It was very overwhelming in the beginning. You do get used to it, and like you can't shower for those days. It's harder to sleep at night.
sure.
It does get easier. Not that you want to get used to it, but your body and yourself, your mind does adjust.
Sure.
Um, and I did not start getting any like emotional help until further into my journey. But I think if I had started getting like talking to somebody sooner, that might have helped also because when you're hit with from July till October, when I found out and she told me I was actually stage 4, we were pretty clueless. So then all of a sudden in the 3 months to be told that you're stage 4 and you have 2 to 3 years to live is very overwhelming. And I don't think a lot of people realize that your whole mindset changes.
Sure.
And even now that I've been no evidence of disease since March, um I'm still not like comprehending that it's taking a long time, in other words.
Sure.
So the start of the journey, the middle of the journey, the end of the journey, you really need to emotionally take care of yourself. And if you need help, definitely seek it. I did have a lot of help from my family and friends. And I also got diagnosed during COVID. So I was pretty
Sure.
much home in the house by myself for like 2 years,
Yeah.
you know? So it was a little bit of a double whammy,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
now,
So
and
mental
yeah,
health,
mental
mental
health,
health is
definitely
paramount, and being in the
huge.
right place
Yes.
mentally to help
Yes.
to
To fight
fight
it.
the journey
Yes.
and go, move along.
Definitely.
Absolutely. That's a huge
Definitely.
takeaway.
It is.
Huge, huge.
Yep.
But thank you,
Yep.
Christine, so much
Yep.
for sharing this story and sharing
Hmm.
your journey with us. And
Okay.
we hope to see you around, and hopefully we get to see
Definitely.
you at a conference or one of our events
I
and
would
stuff.
love
The
to.
door is always open. And
Hmm.
yeah, so thank you so much for being on.
All right. Thank you for having me, Mike.
Everybody, please make sure you go to netcancerawareness.org for more information on all of the events that we have coming up, um, for more podcasts and stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give a like and a subscribe. If you're listening on one of the platforms that you listen to podcasts on, please give a 5-star review. It costs you nothing, and it helps the show, and it helps NCAN and create awareness. It costs you nothing. It
Yep.
helps us greatly. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time
All
on
right.
Let's Get
Thank you,
Real.
Mike.